Welcome into the Bobby Carpenter Show, and excited to be with you here today. Super juiced schlegs about everything that's going on. I was actually speaking over today down in Lancaster at the Fairfield County Workforce Center. They had their graduation. The lovely Mrs. Sawyer, Jack's mother, was there, and she teaches there. So I got a chance to spend some time with her, see how she was doing, hopefully impact some lives in a positive way, schlegs. That's always the goal, when you get to do stuff like that. And I was super, honored to do that. We hire a lot of their folks over at our plumbing and HVAC center. So
Carpenter Heating and Cooling, Bob.
Yep. So we got that going for you, and it was it was a good time. So yes, diving into that, we got a big show today planned. We got our guy Bill Bender going to stop by and join us now. So you know what, Schlegs, why don't we welcome our guy Bill Bender into the program right now.
Richard, there he is. Put him in there.
Yeah. So Bill is actually, I don't know if you caught that, I was speaking at the Fairfield County Workforce Center, and so they have all students from all 8 schools. So I know your kids are in the Pickerington district, so I'm sure they have some folks that are going to be graduating from there as well. So it's very exciting for everybody to be a part of. And now I'm back at my parents' house in the lovely Lancaster, Ohio. So happy to have you on with us today. NFL schedule releases is kind of dominating everything in the conversation today, but wanted to take and pivot a little bit to college. Bill, when you see some of these games that are scheduled now, and with the college football playoff when they're supposed to be, and the NFL is throwing a doubleheader against them in late December, I mean, can we not get better than that somehow? I feel like it's a detriment to everybody.
Yeah, it's not good. And it's not, I think they need to work together on this one, as you guys know, and I talk about it all the time. You can see the helmet behind me, a huge Packers fan. And I don't like that the Packers and Bears are playing against the first day of the college football playoff. I mean, for selfish purposes, I would like to watch that game. And number two, the NFL's not being subtle with this, Bobby. They're throwing like heavyweight games against it, right? They threw Ravens Steelers at it last year. We had Patrick Mahomes against Penn State SMU last year, and here you go, Bears Packers. That rivalry is going to amp up a little bit with the presence of Caleb Williams and the Bears coming off a victory against Green Bay last season. So I wish they were more cooperative. I wish the NFL would take a little bit of a step back here, but I think we know the answer, that they're not going to.
Why did they have to take a step back? I mean, they're the king ding-a-ling. I mean, they just get up there, they just hike their deal, and I'm going to pee all over your ratings. I mean, are they saying, hey, guess what? Move it up? I mean, what are they trying to say by not, scheduling those matchups? Or is it like, hey, listen, our schedule is the schedule. Everybody has to revolve around us. Where is the happy medium?
Well, I mean, part of the reason they're king is they have a minor league system that everybody knows. Like, we don't sit around in the spring and watch AA baseball unless you have a relative playing in or you live in that city, right? Yep. Or if you're looking for a Friday night, I'm not knocking the Clippers.
Jumbo shrimp are big down here.
Well, I'm not knocking the Clippers, but you go to the Clippers game to take your family and have fun and enjoy it, right? But yeah, in the NFL, we know who Shedeur. I mean, I spent last Friday watching Shedeur Sanders and Dylan Gabriel at a rookie minicamp, and everybody knew who they were because of college football. So I do think the NFL could take a step back on this one. They won't. And then I think in turn, the college football playoff, once we perfect this playoff and figure out I do think they need to compress the schedule. Having a playoff, what was it? Did we figure out last year? The Buckeyes played the national championship game. It was like 50 days after the Michigan game. That's a long postseason.
Yeah. And would you be a proponent? Like, first of all, I think that there does need to be some sort of, cooperation there. Like, the NFL doesn't have to, and I don't generally advocate for government getting involved in just about anything because I don't think they usually help it. But in this situation, as far as them being granted their monopoly with the media rights and being able to sell that entire package. I mean, they were granted a federal exemption I forget what it was, the Federal Something Act of 61. And so they're given stuff from the government. I know that the president has talked about getting involved and trying to figure some of this stuff out, because it seems like there is a path to be able to do it. And college football bill needs to take ownership and get their stuff figured out as far as their timeline. But I would almost prefer now that if the NFL can't play for the first 2 Saturdays in December, if you just give me one more weekend, just give me that third weekend. I feel like that might be enough to be able to change it. And then would you be a proponent of like moving the entirety of the college football season, I guess, forward or back, however it would, to start sooner?
I'm trying to think, maybe you can answer this question before I answer that first. When does high school football start in Ohio? The first week?
Jeez, they started it, Bill, so much earlier because they've
Right.
added playoff rounds and everything. So I want to say the first game it's like the third week of August. I mean, it's
so like
crazy.
August 20th, right? Like I think, it snuck up on me last year. I remember saying, wait, there's high school football tonight? What? What? And that will take on more importance as, my son gets into high school. I'll probably pay more attention to that even more. I think you got to push the college football season up a week for starters. And then I think you start the college. We could ditch the conference championship games. I'm still a proponent of that because if we're going to have 14 to 16 teams in the playoff, we might as well, scrap those at some point and then start the playoff a little bit earlier. I would knock out the first 2 rounds, maybe take a break, do the semis, maybe take a 1-week break, do the championship game. That way you have 6 weeks of a playoff. Last year it was more than 7. And you're probably not bumping up against the NFL postseason at that point, because I do love college football and I love the NFL. I mean, I paid attention to the schedule release. We were gifted the Bengals Packers matchup is on my 46th birthday at Lambeau Field. So already some early texts from buddies like, should we go? Should we do that weekend? So I get excited by both, but I also want to watch both in their entirety.
So with that, and we talked about this last year on that Venn diagram. I think Houston was playing Kansas City, and then maybe Pittsburgh was playing Baltimore. And you look at that on the Venn diagram of like Houston Texans fans and probably Texas Longhorns fans, probably a decent overlay. You look at Pittsburgh Steelers fans and probably Penn State fans, probably a decent overlay there as well. And so that happened last year, and thankfully there wasn't a direct conflict. This year you have Philadelphia, which there's probably a lot of Penn State fans, I'm guessing, in the city of brotherly love. And they were playing, I believe, the Bears or someone like right there on that first weekend. Now, if you're a Penn State fan, you're hoping that they win, that they get a bye and they don't have to play that. But it's just crazy selfish to me to see that, because some people are like, it's more football, the better. I want to watch good. Like, I don't need to have Thanksgiving and Christmas together. I can have one day dedicated to each one and still enjoy it. So I don't want to do dual screens and have to try to watch both, especially if I was like a big fan of both of those teams.
Yeah, you could use the Bengals as an example. The Bengals obviously have more than enough Ohio State fans that follow them as well. Imagine having to choose at a certain point between the Bengals and one of those big AFC North rivalry games with the Steelers, Ravens, or even a playoff game at some point, and Ohio State. It's just not good business to cross those wires. And, from a college football reporting standpoint, I've said this over and over again that we were both down there in Atlanta last year, Bobby. Monday morning, you're having breakfast in the hospitality lounge, and what's on the TV like 12 hours before Ohio State Notre Dame play is they're reviewing Baltimore and Buffalo in the AFC divisional playoff. And that is why I would not compete with that. That's the one I don't think they can win because of the NFL playoff interest being so much more established than a playoff in college football that's only 11 years old.
Well, put this on there, Pat. It says no noon games. And I want to talk to you about this because part of that is the environments of the rivalry games, the night games that you see in the NFL. We all watched them growing up, and we all experienced what a night game in the shoe is. And honestly, there's differences in even how they're broadcasted, Bill. And so there's Texas, Ohio State, top 5 matchup at noon. If it wasn't for Ohio State, big noon kickoff would be absolutely dismal. I don't understand why we always have to champion them, and I understand the TV money. But talk a little bit about that in the noon game, because there was particularly some legislature that could be coming around the corner, around the bend, that I'm ready to vote for that. Put that on the ballot. But what's your thought on that?
Okay, so first I need to go back and look at how many times Ohio State's been on this big noon game, which is considerable.
Because it's a freaking lot.
It's a lot.
I think it was 7 or 8 last year is what they had. It was an inordinate amount. It was
right.
Oh.
Yeah.
And so that's part one, that it's almost unfair to the college experience that you have to have a mixture of games. I understand Ohio State's the biggest draw in the Big Ten from an audience standpoint, and that they played, I'm trying to think, I was at some of those big noon games. And this isn't talking about the Michigan game. That aside, that always stays at noon. I'm talking about the week before. You're there for Indiana, which was the game of the week, and Nebraska was the game of the week.
Yeah.
And you go on and on and on. Texas shouldn't be a noon game. I don't know. I don't know how you could say it's a big noon game and still play it at 7:00. That's kind of my issue. And I know Ohio State, Texas in the shoe, not to bring up this game to you guys, but the one that was played in 05 is arguably one of the most memorable games for a lot of reasons.
It was a banger, Bill.
It was
awesome.
Game.
Right,
and also, yes. And
except for the
ending aside, I have friends that I know what they were doing that night all across. You know, they say, I was watching that game here. That's one of those games. And that's the potential you have when you bring Texas in, especially this year with Arch, with Ohio State, with Julian Sand, with probably number 1 versus number 2, I'm guessing, in the AP poll. There's no excuse for that not to be a 7 p.m. game, in my opinion.
Yeah, it would be terrific. Give that the proper build up to be able to see it there. And like you said, it's going to be massive. It'll be Arch's first game as a full-time starter. You know, whether it's Lincoln Keenholz, Julian Sand, there'll be a lot of anticipation. And I mean, Bill, and the preseason rankings, you know, they haven't come out yet, but it'll be a top 5. It could be, like you said, 1 versus 2. There's a lot of intrigue that'll ultimately be with that. So we'll see. I guess they did formally announce that it's going to be at noon. I don't know if there's anything to do. I know that Ross Bjork and Ryan Day have kind of worked on that, and they're trying to figure it out because, like you said, those are the games that you want to have. I'm fine with playing Akron at noon. I can play Iowa at noon if you want, but the big ones you want to see at night. All right, we're going to take a quick break. We're going to come back more with Bill Bender after this. All right, welcome back into the Bobby Carpenter Show here with our guy, Bill Bender, the Sporting News. Go check him out at Bill Bender 92. Does a great job over there. Bill, what do we got working on here in the offseason right now? Are we working on the way too early poll, or where are we at with the college football action?
Yeah, our post-spring top 25's up. We'll have top 25 quarterbacks next week. We can talk about those. I took the first kind of run at it, the first scan, and kind of like, oh, man, I got to start making some tough decisions because you know you pay for it later when you miss. I can say that doing that over the years. We'll look at schedules and then coach rankings, the usual tent poles. And, you know, as you look at that calendar, I think I got the email last week. It's Big Ten Media Day will be here before you know it. You know, I love May and June. And as you get into July, it really, for me, it's Memorial Day to July 4th is that opportunity to get all that off-season content out of the way, because once July 4th hits, it barrels right into the season, which is another reason why we should push it up a week.
So let me ask you this. When you start talking about ranking quarterbacks, how do you handle a situation like Ohio State where you anticipate the quarterback of Ohio State to probably be in your top 25, maybe top 15, just with how Ryan Day has produced these guys, even as a first-year starter, but you're unclear of who the starter is? Do you just try to project the starter, or do you have both guys potentially in there? Is it just Ohio State starter, asterisk, whoever this is, kind of falling in?
Yeah, it used to be that way with Alabama, too. Like over the years with Ohio State, when they've had that battle. I believe one year we put – the 1 year we definitely put JT Barrett and Cardale Jones. And you know, because you're like, whoever starts is a top 25 quarterback, and you could make the argument that the backup is a top 25 quarterback, something similar we did with Tua and Jalen Hurts when they were doing that at Alabama. But, whoever wins that starting job will probably be at minimum in that top 15 range. You look at the Big Ten quarterbacks, that Ohio State starter will start the season as the second highest ranked Big Ten quarterback behind probably Drew Aller. And there are some that would believe I'm taking the Ohio State starter over him because I'm getting to throw to Carnell Tate and Jeremiah Smith. So it is a fun list to do. I mean, the temptation here is, the real question, honestly, is what do we do with Arch? Because we haven't seen him in a full season. We know what the projected talent is. And, depending on what happens in week 1 against Ohio State, that hype could go off the charts.
Yeah, and I'll tell you this is what you do to him, Bill. You freaking hit him in his face. And you know what the good thing is that's why you got Matt Patricia, right? So a guy who knows how to make quarterbacks uncomfortable first start on the road in the shoe should not be played at noon. How stupid is that? Like, it's almost you're giving us a competitive disadvantage by having that game there. And so I'm bringing up a question. And again, Bob, people in the chat want merch. Troy wants a thong for the missus. I don't know. I can work on that too. But here's the deal. The question is this. Why is Fox so fixated on noon and not taking on ESPN on the night game? Because that's the one that Herb Street does. But, why not take them on there? Why do you have to say, we're going to own the noon? And we own the noon because we get the biggest brand in the game at noon, makes their experience terrible. Why not on those key ones? Boom. Throw that thing at 7 o'clock. Get bumpy. Why are they scared? Why are they scared?
Well, NBC has the primetime game, right?
Yeah.
So that's the issue, is that you're playing along with NBC, which is invested in the Big Ten as well. So so that is why when the
swap it, they got trade, man. They got to figure this out.
Well, either way, you got to figure out ways to put games like that in the right spot. There's no question. I believe last year Michigan, Texas was noon. I was up at that game. It was early. It is.
It was.
As a reporter, there are advantages to the noon game. But to your point, when you go, I'll give you an example. Ohio State, Oklahoma, the year Baker Mayfield played at Oklahoma.
Yeah.
You couldn't play that game anywhere else but at night, in my opinion. You could feel the energy, and especially when you have that large non-conference top 10 game, and there have been others that have rolled in there since. I mean, Oregon at noon before Oregon was in the Big Ten wasn't as fun. It didn't have as much juice as that Texas-Ohio State game back in 2005, or the USC-Ohio State game. That's another one that comes to mind. You couldn't have played that any other time but at night.
Yeah, 100%. And you feel the importance of it, and you feel the gravity of it. And I feel like Hester always makes fun of me, Bill, because he's like, you guys get to wake up, rub the sleep out of your eye, maybe finish your eggs, and then watch a huge football game, as opposed to being able to enjoy it and kind of have that be the headliner throughout the day. One other thing that was very significant that's been going on, Bill, they're trying to tweak this playoff situation, and now everybody's in their spring meetings, conference spring meetings, bringing everything together. And I guess the commissioners have been talking, and apparently they're going to do away, or there's momentum, I should say, with the ACC and the Big 12, also acquiescing to it to eliminate the conference auto buys. Are you a proponent of that? Do you think that'll ultimately happen this year for 25?
I think we're going to have the same format we have, but leave it to the committee to complicate something that to me is very easy, that you could just go 16 and 1-16. It's what the rest of the divisions do. If we're going to expand, let's just do it that way. Now I've heard talks about a double bye and, a playing game similar to, we talked about this a little bit last week. I've been following along with the NCAA lacrosse tournament. They have 2 playing games, then a field of 16. So that just tells me at some point college football playoff is probably going to try to do 18 teams. I do get that there's this need to reward the regular season, that we should, but we can also make the argument that, what good did that do Oregon and Georgia last year? They were bounced right away, where it's that rest versus rust argument we talked about. And Ohio State certainly took advantage of that by going on the playoff run last year and not having, certain teams. It works different ways, right? Like in the NFL, we only say that when the Chiefs lose, and the Chiefs have used home field advantage to perfection the last couple of years.
Yeah, it's just something where I'm with you. Like, I don't think we need play-in games because, like, the schedule is – that's what makes every week matter. You know what I'm saying, Bill? It's like, don't cheapen the season and have play-in. It's just the best 16, period, dot. And then go play, schedule them accordingly, rank them accordingly. And as you're ranked and people get upset, then you become the home field advantage because you're the higher seed. It's so simple. Why do people make things so messy, Bill? Like, why? Why do they do that?
Right. And if it were me, I don't know what number you guys
If it was
prefer.
you, what would you do? Bill, Richard Bender, okay? If it's you, you're the commissioner, what do you do?
I would probably okay.
Oh, come on.
First off, okay, I'm more of a go back to the BCS guy anyway. But since I know we're not going to do
what?
that, yes, that was the
computers.
Well, not for but that did determine 1 and 2.
I mean, this ain't no AI with the magical stick. I've been writing side nugget. Everybody that's out there is listening. Google machine has this little magical like pencil. You click on that, it polishes. You like literally polish. And like my emails are amazing now. So professional. Anyways, continue.
So I would use something similar to an old OHSAA model, where when we had 16 teams in the playoff per division in OHSA Division I, for example, 4 teams per region made it. Strength of schedule factored in. You had to play good teams. You had to go 8-2, 9-1. Bobby remembers this.
Yeah.
It was hard to get in the playoffs. I'm friends with some guys from Lancaster that went in the early 90s, and it was a big deal when they went. You know what I mean? So you go from there, and then we play 16. We started early. We seed it 1 through 16. And you play those first 2 rounds on campus. That way, if you're Ohio State, you reward that. You take a 1-week break. You go do the semifinals at the Rose Bowl in those places, and then you do a championship game 2 weeks later. 6-week playoff, 16 teams, and I'm not playing conference championship games anymore. And I'm seeding them 1 through 16 with. Here's the part that, like I said, like if you had that, the OHSAA model pretty much works. So can we do a combined element of like human? You can have a committee. And you have a computer, you kind of balance the two, and those are your 16 teams. And, the computer might get in the way more and more, and I'm getting scared by AI technology as we speak. But I want to go to 16, and I want to compress this thing because that's college football's best play right now is to perfect the playoff and continue to make it exciting. So we're not talking about every year, Schlegs, what about the NFL playoff versus college playoff? Let's make this one special.
Yeah.
Is that how? Correct me if I'm wrong, and I watch it, but I'm not ultra familiar with it. Bill, would that be essentially what they do for the FCS playoff in like Division 2 and 3?
It's pretty close to, right? And I don't know when they go to. I think you get home field advantage till the last game, and then they go to like Frisco, Texas, for example, or D3. And I was worried about that at the start of this anyway, Bobby, because I think it's harder to play 4 FBS playoff games, with all due respect to Division 3, than it is in Division 3, which I'm very familiar with Mount Union and Denison and those schools where, it's a little bit different, but doable from that standpoint because they only play, I believe, 10 regular season games anyway. So maybe 11, but you can do that. Now, think about this play-in model. You could have a college football team have to play 18 games to win a national championship. And I think you're flirting with disaster there, given that a lot of these guys, their major goal is to go to the NFL.
That's why you have to have a contract. That's why you have to and again, it also goes into we have I know we're talking about the college football playoff, but we also got to take into consideration the bowl games. That's why you don't need to add any more. It should be literally start the season. Maybe there's a week, right? Or you go right into it if you want to give everybody a week, and then we play all 8 games, right? But then bowls happen, Or if you did want to play a game, it could be a bowl game, but you got to also take that in consideration. But there's got to be 2 home games. I think it's super simple. We just got to get it done. How do we get it done, though, Bill? Like, that's the next thing.
Geez.
Does the president have to get involved? Right? I mean, like, honestly, do we have to create, does Saban have to become the college football czar to make this happen? Like what has to do to move this needle?
We have to get the conference commissioners to agree on
How do you do it?
How to get there, because everybody is trying to protect their own interests. But I think if you have 16 teams in, tell me that you can't get the teams that you want in from your conference. Maybe you don't get a fifth team in from the Big Ten, or maybe you don't get a third team in from the ACC, but the 16 best teams would be there, in my opinion. So I do think we need that to happen. And then the rule of the group of five, we're going to need to figure out whether or not they're going to be a part of that or do their own thing. And, that's a difficult question in some level.
Just win games.
It's just win. Well, that's it. Well, schedule good teams and win games. So that's the one thing I like, Bill, is, if you're going to do away, I mean, the regular season matters, but also your schedule matters. So if you don't have a very beefy conference, go schedule some great games out of conference. Hopefully then you'll be rewarded on the backside of that with a good seed. So we appreciate your time, sir. Hopefully everything is well and good in your world, and we'll catch up again next week.
Hey, no problem. You guys are the best. Thanks so much for having me on. I'll talk to you next week.
Richard.
That is our guy, Bill Bender of the Sporting News. Go check him out on X at Bill Bender or Bill Bender 92. Schleich just keeps cutting him off and yelling. Why do you yell at Bill the whole time?
I love Bill.
I know, but you yell at him as if he's the one that decided all this.
Guys, he is the Sporting News. Like, he carries weight. He carries weight similar to Saban. He is that guy.
I mean,
he's on the Bobby Carpenter show.
All I think about is Chaz Michaels is figure skating.
Exactly.
Bill
That's
Bender
where it came
is
from.
the Sporting News.
Where it came from. Robert, I mean, come on.
Oh, you're
Robert
ridiculous.
and Richard. Let's freaking go. I just want people to get stuff done. That's it. And he's the guy that can do it because he is the Sporting News.
Of course,
they have their own All-American thing, for Pete's sake.
Yeah, we may have to. When we do some live shows, we may have to get Bender to come out there with us. I gotta buy him some drinks and some food for
that
everything.
Would be amazing to see Richard
in the
couple
flesh,
cocktails deep. Well, in the flesh.
Have you ever met him? Have you met him before?
I'm sure. I guarantee you, I have. Well, 100%, I have. 100%.
Maybe it's because I've talked to him now at practices and different things. And we have a ton of mutual friends, so I always go out of my way because he's one of the best and does a great
I don't know
job.
if I feel comfortable enough just to walk up, hey, Richard, boom, vanilla nut tap, but I do feel good enough that I would recognize him.
Okay. Well, I'd hope you'd recognize him. You see his face here all the time. I mean,
but he could be really tall. He could be really short. I mean,
no, he's a decent height. He's not really short.
He played basketball.
Yeah, I mean, I would say he's like probably between. I don't think he's probably 6'1", but he's probably around 5'11", 6 foot.
Does he have bigger calves than I do?
I don't know if I've ever seen Bill in shorts. He's usually wearing pants because he's.
So then I do.
He's a professional. Yeah. If you've never seen him, it's like the tree falling in the woods. If you've never heard it, then it didn't happen. Yeah. So we got that. All right. Attention, parents, athletes. Protect what matters most with Export mouth guards, trusted by professional athletes and designed by NHL team dentists. Export mouth guards are scientifically tested to help absorb those high-impact hits, protecting both your teeth and your brain. Export mouth guards feature 3 layers of advanced protection, including a patented use of carbon fiber. They custom 3D print that bad boy right to your personal grill, which means more protection, better performance, max comfort, and clear communication so you can focus on your game, not on your gear. Do not take chances with your safety. Go visit exportguards.com/Bobby and save 15% on your order. Export, protect what matters most. More of the Bobby Carpenter Show coming up next. All right, welcome back into the Bobby Carpenter Show, Schlegs. And, wanted to kind of hit with this. I don't know if we even have it in the.
Ooh, tell me. Just tell me. I know.
Anywhere. Well, I'm trying to find the guy's name. I'd written it down. I'm not at my house. I'm at my parents', so I don't have all my creature comforts and all my notes. But Miami, Florida, just got they got an offensive line commit.
The real good one. His parents were a shot putter.
His parents, both his parents?
I think they're Olympians. I mean, he's like the best shot putter in America.
Oh, yes, that's right. I saw him.
That's the guy. $5 million for like 2 years or something.
Jackson Cantwell.
Yeah, that's him. That's him.
All
They
right,
just
so
got
he's
him.
a 5-star tackle, number 3 overall prospect. Had it down between Georgia, Oregon, and Ohio State. He came through Ohio State, I think, and Miami as well. I think a lot of people thought he might end up going to Georgia. Ends up going to Miami. Schleggs, what did you say it was? 5 years, 2.5, or 2
No,
years?
5 million. Yeah, 2 years, 2.5 a year. Bumpy.
You know,
I mean,
so,
that's a bag on. That's a bag again. Like he has great genetics, right? I mean, guys, I remember so many times. Urban used to come in. Bob, you witnessed it. Like literally, dudes would be in there, and like he would just like force them into an athletic position and just stand back. And they had this like dowel rod, and he would like hold his like, it's almost like Vince McMahon. Like, look at him, just in that athletic position, reverse arc. That's what he'd say all the time. It's a reverse arch, but whatever. Anterior pivot, like, look at him. That's what I'm talking about. Let's go talk. And then they would like leave. It was amazing. But again, that doesn't mean this kid's going to pan out. And I'm throwing $5 million over 2 years. And what does that contract even look like? Crazy talk.
Yeah, it is.
Especially when you can't play like regular ball, Bob, and you continue to make mistakes in the coaching room.
Well,
like,
here's the thing, and this is why I always look at with offensive linemen. You know how many freshman offensive linemen have started at Ohio State?
I want to say it's a slim pickings, but I mean, Orlando Pace would be like
Orlando Pace, like day one. I think Alex Boone started day one.
Boone, God
Pace,
bless
obviously,
that guy.
top 5 pick. Well, Boone ended up being an All-Pro in the NFL.
Oh no, dude. I'm just saying, I loved him because he was just
because he was drunk,
angry grinder.
He used to be an angry drunk at Ohio State, and then
he was so grimy.
Yeah, we got his life together and got everything taken care of. I got a chance to see him at Super Bowl in Miami. It was literally like being in Step Brothers, like when you see him at the end. I was like, this is nothing like the guy that I remembered. He had matured and had his son with him, and it was in a really good place. But like those two guys, I think Paris Johnson started as a true freshman. I want to say
monster human,
1st-round draft pick, probably going to be a Pro Bowler at some point. Nick Mangold started at some point during his freshman year, at the end of his freshman year. I think he started in that national championship game or played a lot in it. But the reason that I bring that up is people always get upset about the losing of offensive linemen. I go, listen, bring in Midwest guys, develop them, and then if guys aren't working, go get them in the portal, because it's all about asset allocation. Cantwell, maybe he starts as a freshman, but if not, you've got $2.5 million that are going to be standing on the sideline. And if you don't start as a freshman, that doesn't mean that you're not going to be good. There's a lot of guys who end up being great, but it's the position where you need the most physical development, I think, in the trenches early on. And it's really hard to be the guy. So I've just never been a big proponent of paying a guy early on, like paying a guy out of high school, knowing that he's not going to play for you.
Yeah, old Sneak Nayong over here, man. He's on point. So he says this. So say second year he plays and is okay. That means he's a free agent again and can get a bag in the portal, and you just drop $5 million for literally 1 year of work. Like, that sounds terrible. And Jeremiah Smith was like, you knew that talent and at the skill position, the offensive line is just so hard to predict. Hell, they're seeing that right now with the Browns in the top 5 pick even. So it's just where do you want to spend your money? And yes, you have to do it, but I don't know why an Ohio State fan could even be upset when what you've seen Tyler Bowen do in the first month that he came here. You had 2 transfers that came in that have played a lot of ball, that are veteran guys, and you went out there and you've gotten some top-end recruits in your recruiting class very early. That also plays a role into, do I want to go into a group that already has 3 offensive linemen in their recruiting class? Though you might be the top-rated one. I want to go somewhere else, and they're going to pay me a bag of money. So a lot of other variables go into him deciding not to choose Ohio State. So everybody that's out there, like, don't be discouraged by this whatsoever. I'm like, this is good, because you don't want that money tied up, Bob.
Well, that's the point is, everybody, you lost this guy over in Miami. And so here's the thing, like you look at,
you're not going to get everybody.
You look at Georgia, Oregon, and Ohio State. I would say those 3 schools, like all in the CFP, all were viable contenders. Now, Georgia kind of fell apart, but they've won 2 national championships, very recently. Oregon was the number 1 seed, and Ohio State ends up winning it all. In Miami, they've paid a lot, but this seems like almost like a pure NIL play. And listen, I don't begrudge the guys from going to getting the money. They can do whatever they want. But I would tell people, like, even if you're at Georgia or you're at Oregon, because I think people thought he might go to Georgia. And I think Georgia probably had kind of the same thing as Ohio State. Like, we'll pay you a good amount, but I'm not going to pay you all this money to sit on the sidelines. So this seems like more of a pure NIL move. And I don't besmirch the guy for it. Good for him. But I would not be, like you said, disheartened for this occurring. Like, that's a guy in the recruiting rankings. Like, I'd rather pick up a dude like him, like I said, Josh Simmons, a couple years later, and then develop him.
Yeah, I mean, look at, and let's also go back. The way Coach Fry just didn't get enough credit, like the not just him, but like Simmons and then Seth and those guys, like, for the ability of underclassmen to be able to step in and still fill that gap and win a national championship on the offensive line. I mean, when we won the national championship in 2014, like, the only position that they started every game that didn't was the quarterback position. So, like, again, Tom Herman, hats off to you, quarterback coach, that you had your guys prepared to handle the load and winning a national championship with 3 freaking quarterbacks. And then you go to last year and the fact that you had 9 guys start games up front. Okay, like, a lot of credit goes to Will Howard to be able to communicate, but also those guys filling in and them changing throughout the season, changing their identity based upon the personnel that they had. That's coaching. That's development. And so, to me, Ryan said this even with the portal and the interior defensive lineman. Guess what? Coach your guys better. We're not just going to go get somebody because you think we got to go get them. We got to get the right ones. And if those aren't out there, if they're not out there, guess what? Coach our guys better because we saw something. And that's also like what Pantoni has, part of that too is you got to develop these dudes.
Yeah, we got to take a quick break here.
Sorry.
It's all right. You're diving in. We got our headlines coming up next, and it's okay. But before we get to that, we got our friends over at Backer Schlegs, bckr.com. Unreal new Buckeye gear. They've got coats. They've got hats. People are asking in the chat. They're asking do they have stretch fit hats? So I'm going to reach out to them. I meant to text them yesterday. Didn't do it. See if we can get some stretch fit hats out there. But it's the high-end gear. Their hats are awesome. It's like the microfiber. They feel great. Their coats are phenomenal. It's the high-end gear for the skiing, the fishing, the hunting, the golf, the things that we talk about all the time. It's a premium price for a premium product, but it's going to last. The functionality is great, and it looks really good. And a portion of the proceeds go back to Ohio State student-athletes. So backer.com, bckr.com, and use promo code all caps Bobby at checkout for free expedited shipping. We got our headlines coming up next. All right, welcome back in the Bobby Carpenter Show, and our headlines are sponsored by our friends over at Lake Spur Marketing. They do a great job for us. They'll do a great job for you. Lake Spur Marketing is a full-service ad agency building trust, strategy, and performance. The Lake Spur team shields your team from the outside noise, the cold callers, all the crap you don't want to deal with, so you can go and do what you do best, which is work on your business. They've got over 100 years of marketing experience, so they know what they're doing. Lake Spur Marketing eliminates the waste, and they deliver on budgets. They're not going to charge you more for what you don't need. They don't chase the clicks. They build partnerships. Lake Spur Marketing, the proof is in the partner, Schlegs.
Look at all those partners up there. Look at them, man. Let's look at those guys.
Absolutely. Now,
let me get an athletic position.
We're going to dive in. We got a little nugget here from Cam Hayward. I was talking to Jack Sawyer's mom today, being over there at the Fairfield County Career Workforce Center, and she was awesome. And she talked about him, Jack, and Will going over there. And I said the best thing about it, is he's got Cam Hayward there, and so Cam Hayward can talk a little bit about being a Buckeye, how he helps the Buckeyes, what it means to be a Buckeye, all of those things. Pat, if we can throw that up. and get a chance to listen to Cam Hayward talking about drafting Ohio State players and why it's special here.
They obviously had success with you. They went back this time too. Antonio Holmes, even before you, was another guy from Ohio State. I believe Dick LeBeau has a tie to Ohio State as well.
On defense especially, it's a hybrid defense. You play 3-4, you play 4-3. So it allows a player to excel at the next level because he's prepared for that. I think Ohio State is the biggest team in Ohio. They're bigger than the Browns. They're bigger than the Bengals.
Okay.
So, go to Ohio State, you're treated like an NFL team.
What is it about Ohio?
Yeah, so there's some of that. He got a chance to throw a subtle jab in on the Browns and Bengals too, Schlegs, which was tremendous, being in the AFC North. But, yeah, I mean, he's not lying.
No, I mean, and look at Cam's longevity, right? I mean, again, his dad, but Cam was a pro. The guys that they just drafted are pros. Santonio, pro. Hey, guess what? College coach now. Talked about it the other day. Awesome for Santonio. But you're seeing that makeup now where there will be teams that are heavily going after SEC like schools because, particularly maybe Georgia or Alabama because they play a similar style of defense. And where do those defenses all come from? Saban, right? Where those probably come from? Belichick, right? Because they all like talk and work together and share info. And so they know exactly what they fit and where they want them. And that's why they can have success. Similar to this and where Jack is going to be able to do, really big guy that can set the edge and can rush the passer. Awesome. They've seen him do it. Will Howard, a lot like Ben Roethlisberger. And I'm talking more size. And again, I'm not talking about tenure in the league, but the intangibles of being able to lead a team, play in the cold, play in a tough division. That's kind of Will and what Mike Tomlin wants. Also the longest tenured head coach. So why wouldn't you go to that well when you've had a lot of success with it?
Absolutely. Makes a lot of sense. And there's a lot of teams lean in on that and draft the same type of guys, or same guys from similar schools. Eagles have done it really well with Georgia. All right, that's it for our headlines. Coming up next, we've got our tailgate talk where we answer your questions. So there's a couple in the chat that want to fire away a couple more. We'll dive on in here coming up next on the Bobby Carpenter Show. Welcome back in the Bobby Carpenter Show, Schlegs. And now we're doing our tailgate talk brought to our friends over at Real Truck. One of the things that Steely Matt threw in here, Schlegs, it said, offensive line is the highest position group for bus. And I think Troy also threw it in there, like how many 5-star O-linemen end up as bust. Quite a bit, I would think. It's a big time gamble. I think that's correct. Of all the position groups, I think it's the hardest. They would always say, you would have to recruit 15 linemen to get 5.
Facts.
And so, that's why I don't get too upset. I would be more upset if this guy was an Ohio guy that you lost, but the fact that he wasn't, Schlegs, I don't think it's as big a deal.
Totally agree with you. And listen, here, this is the facts. Everybody knows this. There's not a lot of ginormous humans walking the earth, right? So they are a premium. And you win games up front, both offense and defensive line, which is why it is the priority. But are they going to be able to do what you need them to do at the level in which you need it to do that? That's the question. And it just takes longer for them to develop. Because honestly, what is the bust? The guy goes out there and just has to develop more. And on his 4th year, he balls out like not a bust. It just takes longer. So there is a little bit of that caveat to it, but it's just those are two difficult interior defensive line and offensive line play, difficult positions.
Very, very hard. Very, very tough. It was funny, like the Steely Matt throws in there. David Sanders was the big risk last year. I don't know if you remember that, Schlegs. He was the big offensive lineman out of Tennessee. They gave him a bunch of money to block for Nico. And, I don't think there's an anticipation that he's going to probably play a lot this year. And that was the same thing with Ohio State. Like, we're not going to pay you all that money to sit here and not play this season based upon, just the fact that you're a young dude and there's a lot of growth that always needs to occur. So before that was a guy from Colorado. There's always these guys that you always see. So a lot of great questions, a lot of great comments. We appreciate them in the chat moving forward. Thanks for all of the.
Hey Bob, can I say one thing?
Yeah, go ahead,
real
Schleich.
quick? Hey, and guys, it's about your roster management. So why not get those other guys? Don't have to pay them as much. Develop them. Potentially go get some guys that have proven themselves and developed at other universities for depth or potentially to start. And then guess what? Give more money to the guys that are developed and are producing to stay on your roster to play at the level in which you expect them to play at. Just saying, to me, that's kind of what Ohio State is doing.
All right, that sounds good. All right, that ends this edition of the Tailgate Talk. Coming up next, Schleig's going to close out the show with his parting thoughts here.
Oh, I got a parting thought.
All right, there we go. All right, Schleichs, close up the show with your parting thoughts.
Parting thoughts, guys. I've been seeing this way too much, and it drives me absolutely crazy. When I grew up, I wrestled. I played football, I wrestled, and I played baseball. I didn't start playing football until I was in 5th grade. Guys, parents, let your child just play that one sport. When they're in season, my dad made a rule. When you're in season of whatever it is, that's all we do. We trained through it, right? We lifted through it, but we are all in on that sport because you learn so many things from being a great teammate, body control, all these different things, competitive excellence in different areas. When you're in that sport, be that sport. Stop going, I'm playing football and I'm also going to lacrosse and I'm also going to baseball. Like, it is absolutely asinine. You're killing the experience for your kid. Let him just go be great at one thing in the moment. Oh, he's way better at this. You're not God. You don't know his genetic potential. You don't know what he's going to be. Right? Just let him focus on one thing and then also be a dude, but teach him how to train and just all in on that one thing.
There we go. That's Schleig's on his soapbox. Some nice little nuggets there for parting thoughts. We appreciate it. Big show tomorrow. Austin Ward is going to be joining the program. People loved it last time, so see if I can work him in here to a semi-regular rotation. We got A Ward Sports joining us, so stay locked in as we catch up tomorrow on the Bobby Carpenter Show.